Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the British Embassy in Washington, D.C., where we have spent a fascinating day looking at autonomous systems, small, medium, large, air, land, and sea. And we have with us Alvin Cross, who is the head of the Autonomous Vehicle section at the Naval Research Lab. Absolutely fascinating job at a fascinating time, sir. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you have a fascinating vehicle there. It looks like an airplane, but it's not. It's got a prop on the back of it. It's got flapping wings. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here.
Well, it's an airplane and an underwater vehicle combined into one. Basically, it's able to perform a mission where it's able to fly in under its own power and really submerge itself into the water and actually swim. Hence the fins on the vehicle. That's what accounts for the strange look of the vehicle itself. So we've been working on this for a number of years at the Naval Research Laboratory, trying different technologies. There was a vehicle developed at the laboratory called Wanda. It actually introduced the concept of swimming underwater, using man-made fins to be able to swim. So we took from that concept and actually incorporated it into a flying vehicle. Hence, we're able to have a vehicle that's actually able to operate in dual media.
And tell us a little bit about the payload, the persistence of it, and what are sort of its airborne attributes and what are its undersea attributes?
Well, we expect that it will be able to operate for weeks at a time. Now, really the really engaging concept is to be able to penetrate an area and get something into the fray very quickly. As you see, a lot of wave gliders that the Office of Naval Research has developed. Problem with those is that they actually swim at a very low speed, so it takes a lot to get them into position to actually perform their missions. So with this vehicle, we're able to bring it into the fight much sooner, and it's able to actually dive into the water, complete its mission, and we hope that it will be able to surface again and relay all the data that it's collected. There is no particular payload that we have developed now, but we could incorporate a number of different payloads into it. The fins that you see on it, they're not stationary fins. We have a buoyancy engine on board that actually enables this to pretty much swim like a fish would.
So it uses the prop when it's airborne to fly. Obviously, It's got ailerons on either end of the wing.
Right.
And then once it gets into the water, it uses those to sort of pulse and flap and give it fish-like characteristics.
Correct. We've done a lot of testing at the Naval Research Lab where we actually have a lot of video of it swimming in our pool. We have a building called a laser building, Autonomous Research Center, and we do a lot of actually introducing this into the pool and the aqua environment so it can swim around. We can control how it swims, where it swims. We can control how it actually proceeds to different depths and so forth. So you could avoid some of the currents. You could actually swim much easier to your point of interest.
And it's always good, to so that it takes to the water, and it gets over its phobias and can actually, because it is a very unusual looking craft. So what kind of airborne range does this variant have, and what sort of undersea range do you have? Because I imagine it's fairly power intensive, isn't it, in terms of the motors and the functions in order to get it to actually behave like a fish?
You might think so, but that's really not the case. We're very efficient in terms of the buoyancy engine that's on board and the motors that are pretty much watertight motors in the system. So we're very efficient underwater. In terms of airborne efficiency range, we're looking at basically with this vehicle more than 100 miles ingress capability. So.
Wow. And undersea, are you comfortable saying how what its endurance is?
Well, we're still in the research phase, so I would say that our goal is to actually have a vehicle that's capable of functioning for weeks on end.
And how long before you have something that you can give to the fleet so that they can start playing with it?
Well, I guess our job at the Naval Research Laboratory is to prove out the capability and the feasibility and work with private industry to transition a lot of the things that you see here to the fleet. So it may take some time to get there, but if we proved out the concept, I guess, and really shown to the sponsor, be it the Navy, Marines, or whomever, that it is capable, you can do that, you can achieve that, then we can put money toward it and move the acquisition process along.
And what is the name of the little guy?
This is the Flimmer.
The Flimmer. Wow.
Flying swimmer.
The flying swimmer.
Yes.
That's fantastic. And let's talk about the vertical takeoff and landing. It's anybody who loves helicopters would spend hours looking at that. It's an absolute miniaturization of a helicopter flying control system with swash plates and control rods and everything else. Talk to us a little bit about that system, because everybody is looking at vertical takeoff and landing for all sorts of surveillance applications.
Well, certainly. I mean, it really affords you the opportunity to introduce your system without requiring the accessories, the runways, and the cleared paths to be able to operate. So we're taking this on. We've developed this at Naval Research Lab. It took us essentially a year to develop it. It's basically a dual rotor system that's tube launched. Basically, we use no pyrotechnics to launch the vehicle. It's basically a pneumatically launched, fits into a tube right as you see right down there on the ground. So it all folds up. The blades fold down. These blades fold up, and the landing gear retracts. You're able to stuff it inside the tube, and we use the pneumatic launch capability to launch these out sequentially, very quickly, very rapidly, and we can control multiple vehicles in the air simultaneously.
And what sort of range and payload capability do they have?
Well, this vehicle, we're looking at probably in the order of 30 minutes operation. The good thing about it is, though, it was developed to be an expendable vehicle, but since we've incorporated the landing gear, it could be a recoverable and reusable vehicle. So that's very important to Department of Defense, be able to reuse their assets. And it's a low-cost asset, essentially. You know, we're looking at parts being in the tens of thousands of dollars, vice, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars.
And what's the name of that little baby?
This is the Nomad.
That's a little bit. You guys went a little bit more conservative with that one than Flimmer.
Right. So, like I said, it's tube launch. You could have a number of payloads on board right now. We use it for just for our testing purposes, just an ISR system on board. But I can imagine many more vehicles having different payloads and doing different missions.
Sir, thanks very much for joining us.
Well, thank you.